But you talk about why people are angry out there. All right? They have a reason to be angry.
Bernie Sanders has been right about wealth and income inequality for decades. I'm going to start with a little clip of him explaining it as only he can. I think it's very clear and concise. And then we're going to cut over to Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks, digging a little deeper into this issue. That's a video that came out a year ago, so the numbers are even less acute than they would be. But I think together it makes a very clear point. Take a look.
Here is the startling reality that almost nobody talks about. You talk about why people are angry out there.
And this goes also to the recent CEO killing. Everyone's like, how can people celebrate this? It's a powder keg, folks. People are furious.
All right? They have a reason to be angry. And the reason is that right now, real inflation accounted for wages, real dollars, over the last 50 years. Today, that average American worker is earning less than he or she did 50 years ago. So what happened? How did that happen? Well, I'll tell you what happened. It was a study done by the Rand Corporation, kind of conservative think tank. And what they looked at in terms of income and wealth inequality is that over that same 50-year period, there has been a $50 trillion transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. Now, 50 trillion is an unfathomable number. What the hell does that mean? It's beyond anyone's comprehension. But the bottom line is that what's happened is over the last 50 years, as workers have become more productive, producing more, they have not benefited from it. Almost all of that increase in wealth has gone to the people on top. So the reality of the economy today is that for the people on top, for the 1%, they have never, ever had it so good in American history. Top 1% never had it so good. Making money hand over fist. And it's not only income and wealth inequality. It's not only that 3 people, if you can believe this, own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. What do you think about that? Is that what America's supposed to be?
Yeah, the audience is right. No. That is absolutely messed up. Let's switch over to Anna Kasparian and the Young Turks and continue on this topic.
The average American worker makes around $58,260 a year. The average American CEO will make about that much in less than 7 hours on the first workday of 2023. That is how bad inequality has gotten here in the United States, where CEO pay has really skyrocketed. In fact, it has increased 1,322% from 1978 to 2020. At the same time, wages have been stagnant for American workers, especially beginning in the 1970s. Their productivity has certainly gone up, as you can see from this graph, but their hourly compensation has remained stagnant. Now, the numbers are even more enraging when you break them down, when you break them down by profession, okay? So when you think about all of the essential workers out there, all of the critical professions that help Americans live as comfortably as they can, they are so underpaid compared to what these CEOs are making. So let's take a look at it. Sarah Anderson of Inequality.org, put this data together, and here's what we know. It would take the average American CEO less than 3 hours to make more than the average American fast food worker's annual salary of just $26,060 per year. Less than 4 hours to make more than the average American home care aide's annual salary of $29,260 per year. It would take the average American CEO less than 5 hours to make more than the average American pre-K teacher's annual salary of $36,460 a year. Let me give you one more. It would take the average American CEO less than 7 hours to make more than the average American firefighter's annual salary of $55,290 per year. Does that make any sense to you guys? Doesn't make any sense to me. And when you're dealing with an economy that is reliant on consumerism, how are you going to expect things to run smoothly if Americans don't have the disposable income necessary to stimulate the economy?
That's always been my sticking point with this. It's just bad economics. It's counterintuitive. It's letting greed shut down the engine of how the American economy is driven, right? You need a thriving middle class to pay for these goods and services from which the rich benefit. If you starve them of that.
That also doesn't make sense. So while the Federal Reserve for a while had no problem just printing money, allowing corporate stock buyback, all of that stuff, the reality of the situation is the Fed was just propping up the stock market because the average American can't afford to stimulate the economy by buying these products. They have no disposable income due to this inequality. Like, the whole system is broken. So as soon as the Federal Reserve stops, their quantitative easing, as soon as the Federal Reserve increases interest rates, that those asset bubbles, the stock market starts to crash, and we've been experiencing that. Because the stock market right now, as we speak, is just a house of cards. It's not built on these Fortune 500 companies providing the best product that consumers want and are spending money on. No, it's based on corporate stock buybacks. It's based on them taking money from the Fed and investing in shares of their own stocks. So the inequality is a huge problem, not only due to how it impacts the quality of life for average American workers, but when you think about how this economy is supposed to work, it just leads to a complete breakdown.
I also think that this really goes hand in glove with the recent murder of United Health CEO, what's his face, right? That everybody is sort of, having this almost elated response to online. People are fed up and furious. And to me, I think we're creating, especially with this incoming Trump administration, who whatever he's going to do, he's not going to calm things down, right? This is not a uniter that's coming into office. I think we're sitting on a powder keg.
All right? They have a reason to be angry. And the reason is that right now, real inflation accounted for wages, real dollars, over the last 50 years. Today, that average American worker is earning less than he or she did 50 years ago. So what happened? How did that happen? Well, I'll tell you what happened. It was a study done by the Rand Corporation, kind of conservative think tank. And what they looked at in terms of income and wealth inequality is that over that same 50-year period, there has been a $50 trillion transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%.
I want to know what you think in the comments. Let me know.